So how do you deal with intense emotions and trauma? This is something that is very typically faced in the non-duality space or self-inquiry. Or to be honest, in most people's lives, as soon as there's some type of self-reflection, if life sort of kind of pushes you and corners you to eventually turn the attention inwardly, it could be some disaster, some hardship, it could be something very beautiful, something magnificent in your life may just suddenly happen, and it just corners you to see and witness what's taking place within yourself. These intense emotions and trauma, which have always been there, which have been accumulated somewhere down the line and further developed, they are now noticed. They now seem to appear more than ever before. And this is the case because you have switched on the light in a dark, dark room. This room has been dark for so long. And so anytime you eat something, you throw the packages somewhere in the room because it doesn't matter. You don't see the dirt anyway. But eventually when the light is switched on, you look around and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? There's such a mess that needs to be dealt with now. And so some people, they go back to turn the light off again, which doesn't actually solve the problem. It can somehow dampen the symptoms that may be felt from recognizing these intense emotions and the trauma. But really the way to go about this is not just simply to be aware of awareness and that's it. As you are aware of awareness, or as you take part in self-inquiry, as these things bubble up, there needs to be some level of acceptance. As soon as there is some form of resistance, we are fueling that which we are resisting. As soon as there is resistance, we are energizing that which we are resisting. That's just how it works. If you have a river and you build a dam, a reservoir is developed because all of this water accumulates, and it's now developed. And now you have a bigger thing to deal with. And so that's the same with emotions. When these emotions, they bubble up, if we create some sort of resistance, they just sort of accumulate. At some point, the dam may break and it just comes out into the form of a panic attack or something very intense. But in essence, if we just allow the river to flow, if we allow the emotions that surface to flow, regardless of what the opinions are, regardless of how intense the emotion linked to it is, if we allow ourselves to have some universal level of acceptance and take away the personhood, take away the value imposed from the character, the bias, that I like this and I don't like this, and I love this and I don't love this, all these opinions and the expectations of how things should and shouldn't be, all of these accumulated notions of character, all of these opinions, all of these beliefs, all of these thoughts, they are the ones that formulate why we should resist or shouldn't resist in some sense. If we leave that aside, being aware of awareness, resting in being, if we accept whatever comes up and fully allow ourselves to experience it, then eventually the river can continue to flow. But as soon as we resist it, it will come back again and again and again because this reservoir is accumulating and accumulating, right? And so that is not to say that I don't want to create an expectation that all of these emotions will go away in an instant. And I don't want to create the expectation that they will stay there forever either. That's not something we should worry about, because that worrying also acts as a form of a resistance. Now, another typical thing that can also happen is if we are faced with these intense emotions and this intense trauma, and we are allowing ourselves to experience it, but it just keeps happening. resistance can sometimes be present in a very sneaky way. Resistance can sometimes be present in ways we could have never imagined there would be. So instead, certain events and certain activities may trigger the trauma, may trigger these intense emotions to come up. And so we avoid these activities. Instead, let's this time go ahead. So if there's some type of meditation or self-inquiry, if there's an intense amount of fear that comes with that, then that's exactly what we need to do more of in some sense. The same goes with if there is the fear of rejection, then that's exactly something we need to go and experience more of. And so as we do that, we flip the script. We are turning our resistance into acceptance. And sometimes you may not always have to even fully experience the magnitude of the fear or whatever. It just subsides, it just dissolves because the resistance has literally turned into acceptance. And so really it's a question of, okay, I am on this non-duality path and I'm doing this self-inquiry. I am aware of awareness and all of that stuff. I've recognized the separate self isn't real. It's an illusion, but there's still so many emotions and stuff. And then I experience this peace. And then why am I not experiencing it anymore? And then there's an attachment to this peace and so on. All that there needs to be is a universal acceptance. Acceptance does not imply you are agreeing with absolutely everything. Acceptance does not mean agreement. You may very well disagree, but that's fine. That's also a thought. Whether you agree or disagree, that's also a thought. That's okay. But acceptance is your birthright. It's something that is in some way actually not in our control. If I bring this empty water bottle in front of you, it's appeared within your reality. It's appeared within reality, right? And so we don't claim any ownership of this reality. But since it's appeared in the reality, if we don't accept this, then we have to blur this out somehow. And blurring this out will blur other aspects of life that may be beautiful. And there's just this whole, it's a very counterintuitive way of going about whatever appears in reality. When naturally, if everything is accepted, even if it's something that's typically known as bad, at the very least we are creating space for understanding. And as we understand it, we can transcend whatever has appeared within reality. If there is resistance, it doesn't mean that this bottle hasn't appeared in reality. It's just that this resistance is now creating some sort of internal knot that needs to be reconciled with. So there needs to be this universal acceptance and this absolute okayness through and through in every aspect of life. It's okay. It's absolutely okay. Whatever may be going on, there needs to be the underlying okayness, and we rest in that okayness. I hope this has helped. Feel free to reach out on Instagram or message me. I've also left my email down below, I believe. I read everything you guys send me, so I'm happy to get in touch. This is Hassan from The Spiritual Walks, and we are all on a journey towards the truth.